All right, so today is Unit 2 test day. It's February 1st, 2021. It's the 6th day of our second unit. The objective today is for students to demonstrate their content knowledge on a cumulative exam. And our two essential questions: how well have I grasped the first 6 standards of biology? And where is my room for growth? So in this course, we have 30 standards. We've now covered 6 of them. So that's 20% of the course, 1/5 of the course that we're done with already. Fittingly, that's 2 units of our 10 total units. So that's, again, 1/5 of the course. So we're moving along pretty quickly here. Hopefully, we're taking a lot of salient knowledge and we're learning a lot. And I want you all to reflect after you've taken this test and after you've gotten your results and start to think, how well have I done? But also, where's my room for growth? Okay, so be proud of yourself for what you've learned so far. Be proud of yourself for persevering, for working hard, given all the circumstances that are making it difficult to do so in this semester and in this school year. But in addition to being proud of yourself, also be honest with yourself and say, okay, look, I can look and see that these 2 standards, this standard about enzymes and this standard about cellular organelles, I did not understand fully. So I need to reach out to Mr. Rudd and set up a one-on-one meeting, or I need to make sure that I'm asking Mr. Rudd for some practice problems with these standards, or I need to ask Mr. Rudd if he has any digital resources where I can practice these 2 standards, because that way, by the time I take my Unit 3 test, I'll improve in these standards, and I'll continue to improve in these standards for the rest of the semester. So be intentional about how you're being a scholar. Don't work harder unless you are not working hard enough, but work smarter. Be intentional about how you highlight the places, the areas where you have a lot of room to grow. Okay, not sure what's supposed to, give me a second. Okay, so today is February 1st again, so that means that it is Black History Month. So I'm really excited about that. Black History Month is something that means a lot to me. I studied Black history as one of my majors in college. Black history has also meant a lot to me throughout my life, well before I got to college, because it was something that my family members and my teachers and my friends took seriously and helped me to understand. And so I want you all to be excited about it. I'm sure you're talking about it in your other classes. In biology, we will talk about it and we will relate some of our courses lessons this month to Black history. And I want you all to think about that and be engaged in the conversations that we're having. Hopefully we can learn from each other. I know you all have some experiences that are foreign to me that I don't yet know. And I'm excited to hear about some of those experiences. As you see Black History Month, you can see I've got some colors there. And the first thing I want to teach you about Black history is why those colors are there. So these are the Pan-African colors. Pan-African just means that, I'll really talk about it on the next slide, but we recognize that there are people from the continent of Africa living all over the globe, living in different nations. And so instead of trying to coalesce or instead of trying to unite under a singular flag, we recognize that these colors are applicable to everyone, regardless of where they're living. And red represents the blood of our ancestors, the people who have come before us. Of course, in many cultures, not only in Africa, but around the world, it's important that you acknowledge your elders. It's important that you acknowledge the people who have come before you and who have sacrificed on your behalf. Black is for the color of our skin. Now, of course, we're going to talk about it in this course, but there is no real biological basis for race. So yes, we have different skin colors and we see people of all different skin colors living across the globe, but usually that's more an indicator of where your ancestors lived. If your ancestors lived near the equator, it doesn't matter if they were living in what's today Panama. It doesn't matter if they were living in what's today Ghana. It doesn't matter if they were living in what is today India. If they lived near the equator, their skin was darker. But if your ancestors lived further away from the equator, it doesn't matter if they were living in what is today Sweden. It doesn't matter if they were living in what is today Argentina. It doesn't matter if they were living in what is today Japan, then their skin color was lighter. And there's a very simple scientific explanation for that. It has nothing to do with quote unquote race. We'll talk more about that, but Black recognizes that people from the African continent typically do have that darker skin color because they're closer to the equator. And then green is to represent the physical continent of Africa, which is an extremely enormous landscape. It's got all these different ecosystems. It's got deserts. It's got lush grasslands. It's got mountain ranges, and everything in between. And so it's important that we acknowledge that this is a continent from which many of our ancestors came, where they called home, where they had tribal affiliations, where they had established governments, where they built wealth. And we've got to always think about Africa. Now, some of you might not identify easily with Black History Month because you don't see yourselves as Black, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I do want you to understand that Black History Month does have something to offer for everyone, regardless of what your cultural or national or ethnic background is. The reason for this is primarily rooted in the fact that many people throughout the Americas, both North and South America and Central America, came from Africa. This is the legacy of the transatlantic slave trade. So people from the continent of Africa were sent all over the world. And in fact, in this map, we're not really shown, but some of them even went to the east. They went to India as well. So yes, we had quite a few people who landed in the United States, but we can see really the most people landed in Brazil. Then there were people who also landed in Cuba and Jamaica and the Spanish Caribbean. It's not really shown here, but Mexico actually was one of the primary sites of slave importation in the 16th and 17th centuries. So many of us have cultural backgrounds that are informed by the culture of Africa, whether it's coming from the music, the use of specific instruments to make sound, whether it's coming from dance, food, religion, language. In many ways, all cultures in the Americas have been influenced by African culture. And in addition to that, in the 20th century, we know, and in the 19th century as well, we know that struggles for freedom united people across these lands as well, whether it was struggles for freedom in Venezuela or in Cuba or in Mexico or in the southern United States. There were people of color fighting for recognition, fighting for sovereignty, and they learned from one another. They learned from the Haitian Revolution. They learned from the Spanish-American War. And because of this, the history is united in that way too. So it's important that we be able to see that this is history that applies to all of us, regardless of where we come from, even if it's in Europe, even if it's in Asia, we can all unite under this history. All right, as I promised, we're gonna do a quick Kahoot before we take the test. 17 questions. Let's see if we can knock it out in 7 minutes or so. So you guys know how to do this, but you'll go to www.kahoot.it and enter the game code 254-6656. And I just sent that information to the chat. Okay, so there are 9 people. We've got 15 people in the chat, so 6 of you have yet to join. I appreciate those of you who have. I want you guys to go ahead and join up in the next 10 seconds before I start the game. Of course, once I start, you'll still be able to join. Which organelle is considered to be the brain of the cell? Okay, so some people said the cell membrane. I assume you said that because it sounds like brain at the end of the word, but come on, folks, we should be better than that. That was a give me question. That's an easy one. The brain of the cell is the nucleus. That's what controls all of the cellular activities. So please, please, please make sure that you are, paying attention to what the question is asking, and also using your notebook to kind of go over that. That's a very simple concept. We should all be getting that one correct. Good job, Rudy, Abraham, and Kathy. How are the ribosome and nucleus related? All right, this one was a little more difficult, but still something we've got to know for this test today. The ribosome and nucleus are related because the nucleus provides the directions in the form of DNA for ribosomes to make proteins. Remember, the ribosome's primary job is to make proteins for the cell. Every cell needs ribosomes because every cell needs to make proteins, and they get the directions to make proteins from DNA. Big jump from Kathy. Good job, Ardesia, for jumping in there too. What type of cell is seen in this picture? Good. All right. So this is a eukaryotic cell. We can tell because it has a nucleus. Now, this isn't the best picture. Obviously, this is not an actual image. This is just a drawing. But we can see that the cell has a nucleus, which means that it has to be eukaryotic. It can't be bacteria. It can't be prokaryotic. But we also see that this cell does not have a rectangular cell wall. Plant cells have a rectangular cell wall. All right. So plant cells are eukaryotic, but we don't see a cell wall here. So we can't specify and say that this is a plant cell. Good job, Radeja and Brian, for getting in there. A cell has been discovered in which multiple chloroplasts are present. What type of cell is it? Excellent. Yeah. So plant cells have a lot of chloroplasts in order to do photosynthesis. What is the function of the flagella? The flagella. Okay, so good. The flagella is there for the cell to move. It's like a tail that kind of moves the cell through its aqueous environment, its watery environment. Ardesian, a big lead. Good job, Freeland. Keep going. Based on the picture, what type of cell is seen and what is the evidence to prove it? Okay, let's see. Good, that's a plant cell because again, this time we can see a rectangular cell wall. It's this thick green layer. So this has to be a plant cell. Good job. Fralin in the lead. Good job, Rudy and Fralin. Glucose is a carbohydrate all organisms need. Which organelle uses glucose to make energy? Make energy. Which organelle makes energy? Good. The mitochondria, the mighty mitochondria. It's the powerhouse of the cell. And we call it that because it makes energy for the cell. Good job. For you. Fraylin, jump. Come on, get back up there, Fraylin. Good job, Rudy. Good job, Kathy and Jason. A unicellular organism lives in water. Predict the outcome if its contractile vacuole failed. All right, that seemed to be a tough one. Remember, the contractile vacuole is there to take in water and then to contract and pump it out. All right, so if it can't pump out any water, then the cell has a good chance of taking in too much and it could eventually burst. Good job, Jason. What are the tiny structures within eukaryotic cells called? Organelles. That should have been a pretty simple one. Not sure why 5 of you got that wrong. It's okay, though. What would most likely happen if all the ribosomes were removed in a plant cell? If we take out the ribosomes, what's going to happen? Good. The cell is not going to be able to make proteins. Which organelle is found in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells? Good, ribosomes. All living cells need ribosomes to make proteins because all living things need to make proteins. This slide is viewed through the 50x objective lens. What is the total power of magnification? Remember, there's a very, very simple equation. You just need to do one operation to this to get it. Yeah, you just had to multiply it by 10. Good. 50 times 10 is 500. Wonderful. 5 questions left. What are the functions of the cilia? Yeah, there are 2 correct answers there. The cilia help the cell to move, but they are also kind of like antennae that help the cell to sense its environment. All right, 4 questions left. Which organelle is responsible for photosynthesis? Get the chloroplast. Yeah, simple question there. Rudy is in a big lead, but Kathy, can you chase and catch him? Maybe you too, Jason? 3 questions left. Let's see. This organelle is made of lipids and is responsible for controlling what enters and exits the cell.
Good morning, Mr. Wright. I'm here.
Okay, good morning. Thanks, Shadi. Good. That's the plasma membrane. The plasma membrane, also known as the cell membrane, is responsible for controlling what comes in and out of the cell. I can see if you said nucleus why you would say that. Which cell is considered to be more complex? This should be a quick one. More complex. Okay. Come on, folks. Eukaryotic cells. Come on, we know that. Eukaryotic cells have nuclei. They're bigger. Evolutionarily, they're younger. This was something that we had a chart for. So hopefully you have it in your notes and you can review your notes to see that. Last question. Bacteria are simple cells with ribosomes, cytoplasm, and a cell membrane. Therefore, they are good. Excellent. Everybody got that. All right, let's see who placed on the podium. Good job, Kathy. 12 out of 17, not bad. 11 out of 17, but a higher score. You were answering pretty quickly, Jason. And 13 out of 17, number 1. Good job, Rudy. Excellent. All right, so let's go ahead and knock out this test now. Are there any last questions before we begin? Okay, no last questions. That's fine. So this test has 33 questions. So in order to earn mastery, that's an 80%, then you've got to get 27 questions correct. So there's a little bit more wiggle room in terms of the pure number of questions that you can miss, but of course there are more questions on the test as well. But we can get it done. We can do it. I believe in all of you. Hopefully you've done what you need to do to review. I've got one of your classmates who has scheduled a one-on-one appointment with me for later today. That's a great sign, and it's something that I want you all to be familiar doing going forward. And be comfortable doing going forward. So if today doesn't turn out how you want it to, then you might want to schedule an appointment with me so we can make the necessary corrections. But here it is. So you're going to do like you did last time, log into NC Ed Cloud, navigate to the SchoolNet app, click on Take a Test, and enter the test code U2 as in Unit 2, WM as in Westmac, and Bio as in Biology. It's time to lock in. It's time to do our best. Just relax and do well. You've prepared up until this point, so now it's just time for you to perform. See that Gloria and Rudy have both started the tests. I can see that Abraham, Kathy, and Brianna have all started the test. But we've got a lot of people who need to go ahead and get started. Ade, Ayana, and Neftali, it's time to start the exam. So please make sure you're headed towards SchoolNet to do that. Folks, please keep in mind that there is a time limit with this test. So I see some of you are not really making much progress through the questions. I'm not sure what you're doing if you've stepped away, but there is a timer on this test. So please look in the top right corner of your screen to see how much time you have remaining. You need to be progressing at a steady pace. There is not going to be an extension given unless you can provide a valid excuse or a valid reason why you were not able to complete in the given time. Okay, folks, it's now 11:35, so I know most of you are still testing. That's fine. Keep in mind there is a time limit. Some of you are not making progress like I should be seeing, so please don't run out of time. There will not be an extension given unless there is a valid reason why an extension should be granted. Uh, Make sure you do not run out of that time, and otherwise I will talk to you all tomorrow. Finish your asynchronous assignments if you know that you still have asynchronous assignments to do. I will remain here in case anyone has questions about the test, but I'll be on mute. Sade, what is going on? Why are you switching tabs so much? Are you having issues? She's not here anymore. Christian, what's up with you, Chris? Are you okay? Do you need help?